Hey, everybody, welcome to the Ronline Report. Today's guest, I've had him on a few times, but right now, this man is the talk of the bodybuilding world. He did a guest posing just last weekend in, was it New Jersey, Carlos? At the Victor Martinez?
Muscular. Victor
Yeah,
Martinez Legends
yeah.
Championship.
The internet. It was very similar to the situation when Derek Lunsford guest posed in Pittsburgh last year, and people were just freaked out at the improvements he made. I think it's no secret. People know how good you were, but now it seems like you've taken it to another level, and people are really the fact that you're going to compete soon. It's just a lot of buzz. First of all, were you surprised at the reaction that simple guest posing got?
I was, to be honest with you, like I just was like blown away. I really didn't expect anything from it. I just was going to have some fun and support Victor and his show coming back after, the layoff from COVID and stuff. And yeah, I did not expect that at all. So it was a shock to me. I was just like, this is getting out of hand right now.
It would be one thing if it was just the fans freaking out, but everybody, all the industry, the top people. I mean, just a couple. Milos says you're like a one. Milos Sarshev, who's very knowledgeable guy. I listen to Milos's opinion. Called you a once in a lifetime freak. Not a bad thing to be called. Jake Cutler called you a shapely monster. I mean, all the top people in the industry are talking about you now, and it's cool because you still haven't made your pro debut. You did make me you ruined my prediction. I said you were going to win the 2023 New York Pro,
Yeah.
and no offense, Tony O'Burton, but if this guy had been there, you would have had a very rough time. I'm sorry. I think you would have won that show. But let's go back. So what happened? You were in prep for it,
Yes.
and you have a condition. I want to talk a little bit about that because I think people need to be aware about UC. But what was going on as you were prepping for that show that made you realize at some point I have to bow out of this one? I can't do this.
Well, honestly, it was just probably maybe like it was earlier than I knew it earlier than I announced it basically. I knew that it would be rough for me to make the show. But when you have your mind set on something, particularly myself, I have my mind set on something, I am just gung ho and it's going to take the world to stop me. Um, so when I was starting to get these, the flare up and of my UC and the bloating, the water retention, the constantly going to the bathroom, or sometimes you have the reverse where it's UCC, where you get like the constipation,
Ooh,
uh, and
ooh.
it's honestly it was a time where I was like, you know what, can I push through this or should I push through this? And it actually took speaking with sitting down, with the people around me to be like, okay, well, look, your health is important and you want to bring your best to the stage and you only get one pro debut. So, we made the call around, I think like around 3 weeks out, where it was just like, you know what, we're just going to shut it down, you know, let the body calm down, try to get back to like a baseline where the flare up is under control and I'm able to, get back to possibly doing another show. So that's where, I linked up with Andrew Vu and, we kind of did somewhat like a little reverse out of the prep I was in. So we added some more food back in um, and really just went to like a plain, diet. I really didn't go crazy with the variety of food sources. I just figured out what worked for me, especially vegetables. I have a hard time finding what vegetables work for me. So like I like to use a lot of greens powder. So my sponsor, Project AD, makes a great green powder. So I use that throughout the day. Um, and I also, like to do a like morning drink of fiber, the greens product, apple cider vinegar. And my sponsor also makes this product called Good Morning that has all that in there. So I really just focused on trying to um, nail down my digestion the best I can. Um, but yeah, so that's what I tried to do. Is I really just tried to take control of my gut health as much as possible as we could right now. I got blood work done. I got a GI map done. So I started doing all these things, And you know, as it got better, we were looking at my body and it was responding more. We were like, okay, well, maybe we could do a show. Don't know which one yet. So we are like, maybe it's Orlando. And we're like, no. Maybe it's you know, Chicago. We were like, no. Well, maybe it's Tampa or Texas. And those were the two we were looking at. So as it got down to it, we are like, you know what? Let's not stress the body out trying to force it to be ready for Tampa. And just, you know, let it just naturally happen, you know, let the conditioning come. Let's not stress myself, let's stress my body out, because that's what a big trigger of UC is, just stress. And you know, prep in and of itself is just a big stressor. With the cardio, the diet, the supplements, all that stuff. So we said, you know, let's just try and shoot for Texas. And you know, it wasn't until maybe a few, I'd say like 3, 4 weeks ago, where we really was like, okay, let's do this. This is what we're going to do.
So I'm not going to make this whole interview about UC, but I do want to bring some awareness and educate people a little bit about ulcerative colitis, because I know a lot of people don't understand the difference between Crohn's and that. And, it is a condition that afflicts a lot of people. My son was diagnosed with it about 3 years ago, and you can explain it better than I. But all I really know is that there's inflammation leads to sores, ulcers inside the colon, the lining of the colon, and that wreaks havoc with your digestion, with a lot of things. So, how could you break it down real quick when people say, well, "UC, what's this UC thing, Carlos?"
Yeah, so for UC in and of itself is you know, it's a irritable bowel disease. So you could put it in like the I guess like the category of you know, of a Crohn's, where Crohn's disease, I guess like occurs, from my understanding, occurs in like all layers of the bowel walls. Ulcerative colitis kind of works on the inner linings of the colon. Um, and yeah, you get these ulcers, these sores on there. And it's funny, when I got like my first colonoscopy, when I was having like a really bad flare up, I looked at it at you know, they show you like the results of your ulcer of your colonoscopy, and you could see the ulcers in on the photo, and I was like, wow, like
Mm,
those those look pretty bad.
yeah.
So yeah, so that's what UC is. And honestly, man, it's it can affect your daily life, you know, if you don't have it under control. One thing people may really associate with it is like this constant urge to go to the bathroom, even if nothing comes out. Getting a little graphic here, but it's the truth.
Yeah.
That's something that I've really dealt with like the constant urge to have to go to the bathroom, but nothing may come out, or
Yeah.
you know, you may have the constipation, or or if you are going, it's just running out of you, basically. You know, you're eating something and it just comes right out of you. So you're not really absorbing any of your food. Um, and it really has an effect on how the body looks. So for me personally, I noticed that I hold, you know, a lot of water with it. My body just looks inflamed. I might have some bloating in my midsection. So those are things that for me personally, like I've experienced with my UC. Um, it really has it affected my my approach for my dieting, in my off season as well, as far as like food choice, and the even like the amount of food I can eat. Sometimes it affects that.
'Cause my son takes a medication called mesalamine, which is one
Yes,
of the milder ones. There are much more harsher ones with crazy side effects. Are you on meds for yours or no?
yes, I take mesalamine as well. So me and son have a lot of common with that. We should have a talk and just have the colitis talk, me and him. But yeah, so there is Remicade, I think is another one that people use for colitis and Crohn's. And I think it's also used for rheumatoid arthritis. But I think that's some type of infusion, if I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken.
one of them. Yeah, that must be the one you have to go get. You have to go to the doctor's office and get an infusion.
Yeah,
But
so, I'm not to that point yet, where I'm having to do that, but I know my mother has ulcerative colitis as well, and she's recently had a doctor's appointment, and they suggested that for her. So, I don't know if it's something maybe, as I get older, I might have to, you know, seek out, but right now, I'm just doing, the mesalamine as, like, my medication, and it's basically just like an anti-inflammatory.
yeah, I'm really amazed that you've been able to put on so much size. Obviously, there's a genetic component too. I've seen your dad. Your dad's not even trying to be big, and he's a solid dude. But Yeah, because like you said, it's hard to process. The food doesn't really get utilized the way it's so like my son has a hell of a time putting weight on. But you figured it out through diet and various methods to be able to, because you're one of the biggest dudes in the pro ranks right now, and you haven't even stepped on a pro stage yet. I mean, and it's crazy. Have you figured out like certain foods can't ever eat these again, and certain foods are like your go-to foods that you can eat every day?
Yeah, yeah, I really just stay away from like obviously like if I have like so say like for a cheat meal, I try to stay away from really greasy foods for my cheat meals or like refeed meals or something like I try to stay away from those as much as possible. But as far as like day-to-day foods, fish, honestly, people may not like people are like, oh, I gotta be on whitefish, but it works, it digests so easily, it doesn't give me any issues. Throw in some chicken, and then I don't eat a lot of red meat because I do feel like that kind of gives me a little bit of a upset stomach. But I try to keep some in. So if you've like ever seen like maybe like my full day of eating or something like that, I would do like 100 grams of beef and mix it with chicken, 100 grams of chicken or something like that. So I try to get it in a little bit when I can, because I know the amino acid profiles are important to get those in. So I try to keep a little bit in, but I don't really slam a bunch of red meat all in one big meal anymore. Apologies. I also do a lot of like easily digestible greens. So like I said, greens powders, spinach. I do kale. I don't do like like those broccolis or what do you call it? Even
Cruciferous, yeah, because I mean, it's
yeah,
the fiber that we can't digest is really bad for UC. I know that.
yeah. So I
So
try to stay away from those type of vegetables. Bell peppers are good. So yeah, like I just found out what works. Even over the past few months, I had to refine my diet once again and be like, okay, well, this is kind of bothering me, so let me take that out and let's just focus on just using maybe just mostly white fish. Or if I find that hey, like egg whites are bothering me, which they have in the past, I take those out. So yeah, it's really just a trial and error, and a lot of people um, that have suffered from UC or have UC, I speak to them and I ask them about what they're doing, what do they try. So honestly, it's funny that ever since I've kind of been a little bit more outspoken about it, how many people have come to me saying that they dealt with it or saying that their partner has it or something like that. So it's it's really been an eye-opening experience. So, but that's what I usually do. Honestly, it's a trial and error. It's really nothing special to it. It's just trial and error, figuring out what works. And once you find what works, just run with it.
did you ever read a book called Patient Heal Thyself? But a guy that had Crohn's and he fixed it. I won't recap the whole book, but one thing he says is that he believes a rise in the autoimmune disorders and especially things like Crohn's and colitis and UC has a lot to do with the fact that this generation, your generation, and the younger peoples weren't exposed to dirt, like actual dirt. There's some things in the soil that give you that boost your immune system if you're around. Like I grew up in filth. Like my late mother was a not a housekeeper. The house was disgusting. And I was always outside in the backyard, my bare feet in the dirt, and the house was filthy. And my immune system is amazing. I never got COVID. I was around all these people with COVID multiple times.
Yeah.
I don't get sick very often, but your generation, we kept you guys away from the dirt, kept things sterile, and I really think there's something to that. I mean, it's what are you going to do now? It's too late. We can't put you back in time, but it is what it is. All right. Well, that's the colitis discussion. We're going to move on now. So, so you have these people making these predictions. I mean, I just saw a whole slew of videos. Can Carlos Thomas Jr. win the 2023 Mr. Olympia? They're getting a little ahead of themselves.
I
But
think so.
I mean, did you have a laugh at that? I mean, it's got to be flattering to hear that, though.
Yeah, it's flattering to hear, but I'm 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 just focused on what's in front of me, one day at a time. And I'm really just like my focus is this pro debut. The Olympia, not even thinking about it right now. Like I want to, go in and make a good impression. And I do believe that I can possibly win this show. I feel like I match up very well, with the guys competing in the show as well. They're great people. They're great competitors. But I think that like I said, um, shot for shot, I think we match up very well. So not really focused on whoever's in Olympia right now. I'm just focused on bringing my best to the stage on August 19th.
Yeah, so the Texas Pro, man, you picked a hell of a show because we all know the two big names going in, Andrew Jack and Hunter Labrada. And I saw you on Olympia TV with this Tarek Ogundy recently. And I love the new confidence because this is not a team sport. There's no only one guy wins these shows at the end of the night. So if you don't believe you can win, you're already setting yourself up for failure. And Hunter's a great bodybuilder, Andrew Jack's a great bodybuilder, but everybody's beatable. Hadi Chupan's beatable. Derek Lunsford's beatable. Big Ramy, obviously, he got beat. Everyone can get beat eventually. There's nobody that's perfect and nobody can touch them. So I'm surprised. Was this a newer thing? I mean, has your confidence been building as people have been recognizing your abilities? Or because I'm just so happy to see that because you're such a soft-spoken, humble guy, and you're not talking trash or anything. But I love the new confidence that you're showing.
I mean, honestly, the confidence I think is coming from the consistency of the way we're approaching this prep here. We're making sure that we control all variables as much as possible, and I think it's taken me a while to really look at myself, stand back and look at myself, and not see myself as like that middleweight. Because I was middleweight a couple years ago, and it's taken me a while to not see myself as that kid, and to see myself as someone who can be competitive, who has the potential to, bang with these heavy hitters, and I and when I actually look at it from like an analysis perspective, and look at my strengths versus their strengths, or whose weaknesses or whatever, I think it bodes very well for me, and that's just me being analytical and looking at the playing field, as I used to do when I played football. You look at game tape and you look at the strengths and weaknesses of your opponents, and you wonder how can you exploit them, or how can you bring up your strengths to overcome their strengths. So honestly, I'm very confident in the people around me. We have a great plan moving forward, and I feel like this is the best I've looked. So, and as I was telling somebody the other day, I was like, scared money don't make no money. So you can't be scared to put yourself out there and test your worth, right? I want to be on the Olympia stage. I want to win, the Mr. Olympia one day. That's my goal when I first set out to do this in 2014. I picked up a magazine of Phil Heath when he won his 2013 Mr. Olympia on their Muscular Development. By the way, I picked up that magazine and I said, "This is what I want to do." I want to be this guy, like not him exactly, but I want to achieve what he's achieved. So, what better way to do that than to stand next to people who have been seven and eighth or high as fourth in the world? Like there's no better way to do that than to just step on stage with these people. So, yeah, that's the goal. Step on stage with these guys, show my worth, and continue to get better.
It's funny that you mentioned Phil Heath because so many comparisons are being drawn, especially after that guest posing between you and Phil Heath. You're not clones, you're your own guy, but still there are a lot of similarities. That real crazy, bubbly, round look to the shoulders, the arms, those legs. It's funny, my gym owner, he follows the sport, but not that closely. He comes over to me with his phone yesterday. I swear this is true. He goes, "Have you seen this new guy?" He says, "Look at this." In the side shots, there's a side chest, I think. His hamstring is touching his calf in like a side chest. I go, "That's Carlos Thomas Jr., man. Yeah, he's awesome. I've known Carlos for a while now."
Yes,
So even the people who aren't that into the sport are aware of who you are and they're excited about you. Um, so I have to ask about your back improvements because that's the one area when you turn pro that I said that's what really needs to come up. Arms done, legs done, shoulders done. I think everyone can always use a little more upper chest. I don't think anyone's ever had an upper chest too big, but the back. And how much has your back improved? What has it been a real focus these last couple of years?
yes, yes, definitely. We've been training it twice a week. Focusing one more density type day, and then one more a little bit focused on like pulls and trying to bring up the width, more upper back focused. So I think it's came up significantly since the national show, honestly. And I think it's enough to compare to these guys that I'll be going against. Look, I think that most of the shots I'm very comparable in, as I've mentioned. The back shot, I think you could call it a tie. That's what I'll say. You know, like I think that I'm very comparable. If I'm not um if my back hasn't, been like improved to the state of which that I've had set out to, then I'm doing something wrong. But I don't think it has. I think I've improved it very, very much. So I think it's comparable to the guys that I'll be stepping on stage with. And I'll be very, very excited to see the comparisons when we do step on stage. So I think I've worked hard enough that it's come up enough to be a contender.
You talk about looking at the game footage and stuff. If you're checking out Hunter Labrada and Andrew Jack, neither
Mhm.
one of them is known for like the greatest back. They don't have terrible backs, but no one's like, oh my God, Hunter's back or Andrew's back. So if your back is better than it was, before, which I've seen shots, I've seen glimpses of it. I haven't seen a lot of back shots posted or anything, but man, from the front, your front double bicep, your front lat spread, your side shots, your most muscular. It's just it's crazy. So, what are you and Andrew doing to make sure you're in top condition? Because that's the thing with you. When you won nationals, I'd say I put that at like 80 to 85% of where I would want to see you on a pro stage to just like slaughter everybody. So, what have you guys been doing to ensure that's going to be perfect?
Yeah. Oh, right now we're pushing the diet. We're pushing the diet pretty low right now. Um, I'm doing my cardio upwards to 60 minutes a day, maybe more, depending. And we're just letting the diet and the cardio and the training do the work. I think this is the best condition I've been in ever since I was a middleweight. I think that we've really nailed down a solid game plan because it's not, I don't get flat very easily. So, it's nothing to me to go ahead and push the diet a little bit harder, to push the cardio a little bit harder. And I think that's something that we've figured out. But we've also figured out that when my body does start to run away a little bit, we're not afraid to feed it a little bit more and then get right back to, those low days. So that's kind of what we've been doing. We'll push, 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 push. And then when the body needs to be, replenished, we'll do that. But we're right back to the grind. And it seems to have been working because I've maintained, a good amount of size. And I've also gotten sharper as the weeks went on. And I think that people will really see a dry, hard, and separated physique come, August.
With that size and shape, if you come in dry, I'm gonna get so much shit for this from the Hunter fans and the Andrew fans, but you know what? I don't care. It's Am I biased? Maybe a little bit. I know you a lot better than I know those two guys, but I think you're going to give them a very, very hard time. And would I be one bit surprised if you win and beat them? Not one bit. Curious though, what did you weigh at the guest posing? Because I heard all people guessing all kinds of numbers.
So at the guest posing, yeah, I weighed 240.
Wow. Okay. You turned pro at how much?
I was 219 on stage.
Wow. So yeah, I mean, assuming you show up, I don't think you have much more to go condition wise. So a solid 15 to 20 pounds. And the waist, you kept that small. And good Lord, it's just that round. I agree with these people because when did we first meet? Was it you and your dad? Was it the Arnold in 2020, when COVID was just starting? So I've only known you for like 3 years, a little over 3 years. And the minute I met you with your dad, I was like, holy crap, who is this guy? When's he going to compete again? And you were still an amateur. It was 2020. Yeah, and you were still, I think you were in the last semester of finishing up your master's or something at that point.
I was actually, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I was in the last semester of that when I finished it up that spring of
yeah,
2020. So yeah, that's when we were like, okay, let's get ready to go try to do a show next year.
yeah. So, I guess one of my last questions, Obviously, you had delays, the pandemic, things got delayed. You could have been on a pro stage before this, but I really do believe everything happens for a reason. I feel like that extra time gave you the opportunity to make improvements to where if you had turned pro in 2020 and stepped on a pro stage in early 2021, I don't think you wouldn't look like this. You would have been a smaller version. I don't think you would have been ready to dominate the way that I think you are ready now. Do you agree?
I agree. I agree. Everything does happen for a reason. I believe that wholeheartedly. When we did try to figure out a show in 2020, but it was like we just couldn't get anything nailed down. So it was perfectly fine. We moved on to 2021, and things were a little bit more open that year, of course, and we were able to get a qualifier show, do that, and then go on to nationals. But the improvements that we made in that year of 2021, that was, I would say, probably like this one of the second biggest years like I've had as far as like growth. We all first start out, we kind of get like a newbie game type thing, but I would say that year was probably one of the best years as far as like learning how to properly, like eat during my off season and getting all my meals in and really living that bodybuilding lifestyle. Um, and it was able to translate into, a better physique. And then next is just, going on and continuing the same thing. So that's what we did going into 2022. I had a bit of an issue with my stomach as well, but we did the best we could and made some more improvements. So I feel like, when we stepped on stage in 2021, it was a great physique, but the things that we're bringing this year, it's going to be another level. I feel like we've made a bit of a quantum leap, so to speak, when it comes to the overall size in the condition, and as far as like the balance as well, because I think that's very important. We've stayed very balanced, even though my legs are very big. I think that we've made sure to keep in balance with the upper body, the shoulders, the chest, the arms, and the back as well.
Who has legs bigger than you? The only guy I can think of that's on that level is Big Ramy. I really can't think of anyone else with those quads. Just it looks photoshopped, and I know it's not. I've seen you in real life.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. Hard
so when
finding.
so when you did the nationals as a middleweight, was it Neil Hill that said you have great potential, but you probably need to be a light heavyweight?
Yeah, yeah. He
Yeah.
told
So
me that I would have to be like,
he was only off by two weight classes, but who would have thought? Did you think back then when you were competing at 175, 176 pounds, did you have a vision of your head that this is what you have ultimately wanted to look like?
I had a vision in my head, but again, it really didn't hit me until I would say this past the guest posing to see myself on stage and look at myself and go, "Wow, is that me? Like, am is that me?" Because years ago, that's what I wanted to aspire to become. I wanted to have that feel Heathish roundness and bubbliness. And if you look at his side chest, he has like these crazy hanging hams. I wanted that, and now I'm looking at myself. I'm like, man, like you're on your way. So I didn't see it clearly as back then, but each year the image became a little bit clearer. As we kept working and as we kept working. And I still think we have a lot left to go. We still have a lot left to improve on, and get better and better.
You did it all while staying right there in your Delaware or is it DC? Where are you?
Yeah, right in Delaware.
Delaware, working a job. A lot of people, I think we got it in our heads a few years ago that you have to go to Kuwait and stay there for 6 months, no job, nothing, just eat, sleep, train. Can't do anything else. Can't stay in the US with your friends and family. You got to leave. You've done it. You've done it all. And I have to commend your dad, Carlos Senior, man, because I don't know a better parent in this sport. And I'm sure there are great parents in the sport. Don't get me wrong, but he seems to have been such an integral part of your bodybuilding career and success because most parents most pros will tell you their parents, they support them, they're fans, but they don't really know what the hell they're looking at. They don't know what's going on. Your dad is at every show, all the pro shows that I've been to. He knows he has the eye for physiques. And I bet he tells you if you're behind on your diet or I bet he's brutally honest with you. He's not the typical parent who just always go, rah, rah, you're awesome, you're awesome. I think he's been almost like a manager, a coach. I don't even know what to call him. How would you describe it?
I just say he's, my, like my best friend, to be honest with
Mm,
you.
yeah.
When I do my check-ins in the morning, we look at them, and I ask for his opinion every time. And he'll be honest with me, oh, you're flat. Oh, you looking watery today. But he'll be honest with me, and but he always ends it positively. Like, we'll keep moving forward. We'll keep working. So he has been, a integral part of this whole process for me. Not only as like, the gift of gab, as I say, because he is a talker and it works well for promoting me, right? But
Exactly.
as like far as like the mental part is like, someone to talk to, someone to lean on, and he understands the sport too. So it's just great to have that. And I also have my trainer Kyle Smith. He's like a brother to me. We've been working together since 2019, since I was like around like 180 pounds. Um, yeah, and he as well has been a great support system. He's like a brother to me. And whenever I need someone to lean on, he's there. And a slew of every other person, my girl, my mom, my sister, Andrew. I talk to Andrew every day. Like literally every day on the phone we talk. Even if it's not about bodybuilding, just about life in general, or maybe like what we're watching on TV or something. So I just have a great support team. But yeah, my dad has been there from the beginning. It didn't matter if it was football, track, wrestling, bodybuilding, whatever I got involved in, he's involved in.
This is random, but I just want people to know how hard you've worked those legs. Obviously, genetics, yeah, yeah, yeah. But I to this day remember Carbon Culture was it 2021 when it was the second location that Brandon opened up, the second one, right? Where the leg equipment was all downstairs and they had an upstairs. You did a drop set on hack squats that started with like, I don't know, 10 or 11 plates on each side, whatever the thing would fit. This set went on for like 15 minutes. I think I got part of it on camera and I got tired. I got so tired. I said, I'll be back in a few minutes. And you were still going. It was just brutal. So, I want people to know you train very, very hard. It's yeah, genetics and hard training. It's very tough to beat someone who has all of that in one and a work ethic. It's just a rare, rare combination. Like when I think of Phil Heath, I've talked to Honey Rambod about him. He said there were probably a few other people out there with genetics like Phil, but a lot of them would never work that hard, and they're not coachable. They wouldn't listen to what a coach told them because he worked with a lot of genetically gifted people, but it takes a special other set of components, mentally and having that discipline and drive. I that was one thing I saw. I noticed in you from the get go. Said, they say this kid, a good head on his shoulders, this and that. But I said I could see he's got his shit together as young as you were. But what were you like 25 when I met you?
Yeah, probably around that time,
Something
26.
like that. So, yeah, I mean, I'm very excited for this pro debut. I would have been excited in New York, but it doesn't matter. Wherever you get on stage for the first time,
Thank
it's
you.
gonna it's gonna be an exciting thing. And I'm glad you picked a tough show with two very big names because there's other shows you could have done. I always say if you win a show and there was no one that good in it, yeah, that's good, but who'd he beat? So, if you manage to do it and beat some really big names your first time out, I think that's really going to cement your momentum moving forward, whether or not you choose to do the Olympia this year, whatever. We'll talk about that in a few months from now. Let's get this. Let's focus on the Texas Pro, your pro debut, and man, it's been a long time coming, but as we say, some things are worth the wait. I think this is worth the wait.
Thank you, sir. I
Yeah.
don't, and I'm really excited for it, honestly, to get this chance to step on stage with great competitors. I mean, these are guys that I've been looking at and aspiring to be, on their level for a while now. I remember when I was looking at the nationals where Hunter turned pro. And I was like, man, like I want to do the nationals and win there. And I went and did it. And I trained with Andrew Jackson Dubai. This is
Well,
before he started bodybuilding, and he was like, I was like, man, this guy's a freak. And now to see him, take that another level, win the Texas Pro last year, the UK Arnold Classic, and then place top 10 in Olympia. Like to see that happen, like it's inspiring for me. So like not only these guys, fellow competitors, and you want to compete against them and win, but they're inspirations as well, right? Just to see the content that Hunter puts out and his approach to training and his mindset, that's inspiring. And to see the the aura that Andrew brings to the stage, because I was there at Texas Pro last year and it was amazing, to say the least. So I'm grateful to be able to be on stage with these guys, and I'm ready to kick some butt.
You have to be, man, because they want to kick your butt. It's not like yeah, there's no ties, there's no crying in bodybuilding. So that's it. I appreciate you taking the time very much. Again, so excited about this. Cannot wait. And that's it. I wish you the very best of luck, Carlos.
Thank you, Ron. I really appreciate it, man. Thank you so much.
All right, everybody, please subscribe to the channel, like the video, share the video, turn on notifications, do all that good stuff. And of course, in August, what's the date for Texas?
19.
August 19th, you will see this man on stage at the Texas Pro, making his pro debut. Don't miss it. That's it. For Ronline Report, Carlos Thomas Jr., thanks for watching.
Peace.
Hey, did you like that video? Smash that like button, subscribe to MD, and please comment down below. Thanks for watching.